Hello, welcome to 8.9 News. I'm Finlo Costain. A new collaboration with the Balcaskie Estate in Fife aims to expand the Pitch Up initiative developed to boost regenerative farming enterprises and set up by Tim May from the Kingsclere Estate in Hampshire. I spoke to Tim May and asked him to explain more about the Pitch Up initiative.
So, yeah, Pitch Up is our invite for people to come and join us on our estate with their business ideas, generally sort of land-based, so something to do, converting the raw materials of sun and the water and everything else we get into something useful, and then you've got the next sort of the stages of, so you've got your raw material production, then producing something out of that raw material and then marketing it. So there's kind of those three categories of people that we're looking to attract, and what we really want to have is that those activities we can integrate into the whole sort of ecosystem within the estate. So very often thinking about, like, in a processing, in our scenario, you're going to have a co-product, like, I don't know, in cheese, you're going to have whey, and whey is a really good protein that we can then put back on the field to help fertilize more crops and all that sort of stuff. So trying to look for where we can get symbiosis with the activities.
So these are you're looking for new businesses that actually come and exist on the Kingsclere Estate itself?
Yeah, it don't have to be new, but it's an opportunity for new entrants. But but for all people, so sometimes existing businesses are looking to expand, to grow up, or they've already done their R&D somewhere and looking for a bigger site. But at the same time, we also realize that this sort of idea is quite new. So if we can create the space and time that those early innovation sort of R&D projects need, they don't necessarily need a load of capital. They just need to try and, like, I've got this inkling of an idea, but what can I do with it, and how does that actually look and scale? What's that feel like? So we want to provide that space as well.
Tim, you've talked about wanting to build a circular economy. Now, circular economy is a great phrase. We hear it a lot, but what does it mean in your context?
No, you're absolutely right. I agree with that. We hear that sort of, like, all these words, regenerative and sustainable, and every other word. So I guess it's our opportunity to put our own label on that sort of word. For me, it is about cycling economic activity back within sort of, I go back to that sort of ecosystem word, but it is just sort of, whenever I think of all these systems, I think of them cyclical instead of linear. So if you've got a linear, you start at one end and you go through the production cycle, and you end up with a waste and a product at the end, and the two don't feed back at all. In a cyclical system, we feed back a lot more. So thinking like that waste product, instead of being called a waste product, we call it a co-product. And how can we cycle that back in? It
sounds like what you're doing is to take that more traditional mixed farming model, but then you're bringing in a range of different businesses to achieve that ecological benefit over the full extent of the farm.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's really, I think that, using that mixed farming model as an example is a good way of explaining linear and cyclical, because so we used to be a mixed farm up until 2002. And we had a dairy and a pig farm alongside our arable farm. But when we closed in 2002, we had the dairy in one part of the farm and the pigs in one part of the farm and the crops in another part of the farm. So it was mixed farming. We did a mixture of activities. But what we didn't really do was integrate. And what the farming we do now on our farm is we've got dairy and cereals as our main activities. But the dairy, we've made that mobile so that the dairy can, and the benefits of the dairy can go anywhere around the whole estate. So what we saw in the old linear mixed farming scenario was that the fertility that the dairy produced was circulated around the dairy buildings, radiated out from there, and the further extremities of the farm had much poorer soil conditions, because we took all the straw from them, put them into buildings, and then spread it just around the buildings, and that was nice and easy in that scenario. But by putting everything mobile, we can then expand that benefit across the whole estate, and that's sort of like a really good example of how the circular economy sort of way of thinking works.
Now, the Pitch Up initiative's been dubbed the Dragon's Den of farming. How do people actually pitch their ideas to you? Is it as ruthless as the TV show?
Yeah, so the Pitch Up process isn't as ruthless as the TV show. You know, people like you say that have called it like the Dragon's Den, but yeah, we're all learning on this process. So we're learning what good investments are and what good businesses make and that sort of thing. But we're not overrun with applicants. So it's not like we've got thousands of people. We've got to really whittle it down into a few people. So what we've done is we've put we've got an application window. We really wanted, I suppose the history of PitchUp was that we wanted people to apply to us, and then we ended up as a farm just getting people just dribbling ideas into us all year round. And we thought if we could narrow that down into a month window, then we can compare the few we get against each other. So this November window is an opportunity for all those people that would normally apply to us through the year to apply to us in this 1 month. We can then have a look at them and compare them like for like. We haven't said, right, we're going to only have one a year, but we also haven't said we're going to have any, because if they aren't suitable, then we're not going to take them on. But
so it's all based on quality.
It's on quality, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It sounds as though through the PitchUp project, you're building quite a substantial food business village at Kingsclere. What are the advantages of being part of a community like that? So
diversity. So as soon as we start to talk about agroecology and regeneration and anything other than the linear monocrop sort of reductionist mindset that agriculture and land use has been going through for centuries, we need diversity. So the more diversity we can have on our farm, the more we upcycle and get more life, more everything going on. So I guess I'm just going to lift up, and you can probably see our logo. It's a bit of a spiral. Oh, I'm looking the wrong way. All right, we've got the spiral. Mirrored camera's not very useful, but so I referred to that spiral, and in the system we're trying to do is build that spiral up and up and up, and as it gets bigger, it grows. So the more activity, the more things we got going on, the more energy, the more everything else we got going on within the business, and that, I believe, if done correctly, that goes into the soil and into everything else, because we've got diversity. If we go down this sort of monoculture reductionist mindset, we end up going down the spiral into nothing.
And of course, farming can be quite a lonely business. Is it good having so many more people around?
Certainly is, yeah. It changes my role a bit, because I've become more of a manager of land and soil and earthworms and things into a manager of people. But it's fantastic. And what we've been amazed with so far is the range of ideas that they're not even in our sort of horizons. We couldn't even think of them. And so that just becomes really much more exciting. So
you're now expanding the initiative into Scotland. Why is moving north of the border important?
For me as a business, obviously it doesn't, I haven't got any business interest in Scotland, but what we've found is that the more that we've talked about this process, the more we've realized that other farming businesses have got exactly the same aspirations and exactly the same problems of attracting viable ideas and so our problems are the same as everyone else's problems. So we thought if we can open source this and make it a much bigger event, we'll get much more coverage, more people will talk about it, then we can get more applicants and we can spread the word more. So that's the real reason for expanding to Scotland, and hopefully in the future to other areas of the country.
And how did that relationship with Sam at Balcaskie arise?
So Sam at Balcaskie actually is a really good example of what we're saying. He had an inkling. He's already running quite a diverse business up there in Fife, and he wanted to sort of effectively, he sent me a message and said, can I copy what you're doing? And we understood, I said, well, why copy? Why not just let's work together, let's get this interdependence sort of going, and let's start the cycle. Let's do this thing, instead of, again, that's the problem, instead of working in silos, let's group together and make this work.
That was Tim May from the Kingsclere Estate and the PitchUp initiative. That's all for now. More news on our website, 8.9.com. We're back soon. Thanks for watching.